Hey, what's up everybody? I've got 3 things that I want to show you regarding the GoPro today. The first one's not really a hack, it's just more of a tip, and that is that I use this silicone lens cover to protect the hydrophobic treatment on the Hero 10 lens cover. I'll put a link in the description. The only negative to it is that it pops off pretty easily. What I usually do is just put this rubber band over the top, keeps it in place, and then when I go to use it, I just take the cover and the rubber band, throw them in a pocket, and then once I'm done, just pop them back on. And then the second kind of hack that I want to show you, if you look closely here, you'll see that I've got little markings, and I've got them on both sides of the front and the back, and those are to help me line up the camera on the base to get the right angle so that when I'm paddling and it's on my helmet, I'm not getting it too low where it's just pointing at the boat and the water, or too high where you're just kind of looking at the sky. So once you figure out the setting that you like, you can then come in and put a little mark there. The way I did that was just with this silver metallic Sharpie. It's basically a paint pen. And as you can see here, you've got a nice fine point on there. And so what you want to do, you're not going to go in and draw a line on both sides. You actually just take the pen and just touch it right to both sides at the same time. And then that mark will just be basically like perfectly lined up. It's going to put a little bit of a dab on both sides. And by having 4 of them, you're more likely to be able to line it back up in case 1 or 2 of them were to get rubbed off over time, though they're pretty protected in there, so I haven't really found that to be a problem. And the other nice thing about these marks is even if it's not exactly where you want it, at least you have a frame of reference. So you could always have it be just like a little above that mark or a little below that mark, but you've got somewhere to start from. One other thing that I'll mention while I'm on this topic is I ended up getting an aftermarket. This is like a solid aluminum knob that threads in there, and I really like this. It comes with a key and allows you to really lock this thing down tight. Like, it does not move once you get it locked in. So I'll see if I can find the link to what that item is and throw that in the description as well. Last thing that I want to show is just a simple way to put the tether cord in and out. You may only be hooking your tether up once, but if you're like me and you are ever using your GoPro to hook a microphone to it, then you're gonna need some type of setup like this with the mic adapter. And in order for it to fit in there, you have to fold those flaps up, and where that tether goes through doesn't allow that. If we look at the top of each flap, you can see that there's a little hole there, and it's just big enough for the tether to go through. And by doing this, the tether is now hooked to the camera as opposed to hooking it to the base, which could then crack and you could end up losing your camera. The one time I've had a camera break off my helmet, it did separate the mount from the helmet. So if I had been hooked to the base, I would have been okay, but you can't guarantee that that's going to be the case. So I like the idea of hooking it right to the camera. The only downside is that it's fairly tight to get this through here. It's actually quite difficult if you're just trying to push it through. So I'm going to show you a little bit of a hack here, make it easier. There is one other way to secure the tether to the camera to consider, and that is instead of wrapping it around these loops, you can just put it between the two. And once you put it between them and you put your base on there and put your thumb screw in, it's basically going to be secure. That tether can slide around in there, but it can't come out unless this entire thing were to come apart, which would probably mean the flaps on your camera are destroyed as well. It does make for a much longer tether. And the other thing is that if you're changing your base mounts a lot, when you take that base mount off, your tether is just loose. So you have to be aware of it, keep track of it so you don't lose it, where here it's attached and it's not going anywhere. As you can see there, it really is tight, and so you are not going to have much luck trying to push it through there. You can see I've actually frayed mine a little bit, and that was from me trying to use paper clips and things to push it through. And what we're going to do instead is we're going to pull it through. We're trying to get the tether through this slot and this slot, so they're going to be like that, and then we're trying to get it to go all the way through there. The first thing that I came up with was a paper clip like this, where I was gonna try to pull it back through. The problem was if I pushed the paper clip through, as soon as I hooked the tether on the backside, it was too fat to fit back through. But what I figured out does work is dental floss. And this is a floss I've been using for a long time. You can see it's actually not like a single monofilament. It's designed to be a bunch of tiny filaments. It's nice and thin, and so it does a pretty good job of being able to fit through there and then still be able to come back through with the tether attached. Monofilament, floss, or fishing line would probably work fine. We're gonna bring the floss and we're gonna put it through, bring it out the other side. And then once we've got it there, we wanna run it around our tether, and then we're gonna feed it back through. And so now we've got a loop, and then we can pull that through. And then you just want to take the end, loop it through itself, and then that's basically it. You've got your tether off to the side now, and it's wrapped around the camera itself. Okay, so there's everything all back together. Was able to use my little dots, and you might have noticed that I actually redid the tether because I wasn't paying attention when I put it back together. I prefer the tether to come off in the same direction as this knob, which is where only basically the power button is. And I do that because I like to keep this battery door area wide open, since you're going to be going in and out of there quite a bit to swap batteries and to get your micro SD card out for downloading to a computer, which is the way I'd recommend you do it. It's much faster instead of running it off your GoPro. I wanted to mention, if you're whitewater kayaking or hooking it to a helmet, that I recommend you try to separate these two as much as you can to still be able to get the camera onto the helmet. And the reason that you want to do that is because you don't want to have a lot of extra tether creating a spot where things could get snagged, especially up by your head. Like, let's say you were to have like a stick or something go under it and snag, could really yank your head or potentially even cause you to be stuck momentarily, because either this would have to release or the tether would have to break. And I can tell you that none of those things happen super easily. You're gonna run it through there, and then you need to then take this and fit it back, like open it up, and you're gonna fit it around the entire camera. And then you are tightening down on itself like that. When the tether is tight, I have just enough space that I can fit the front into those slots. And then as you can see, there's not a ton of slack. You know, it's still maybe not ideal. And you could maybe put like a little like 3M tab that are designed to like little cord minders for computers or something, and that could sort of keep that down just to prevent that from rising up like that and catching on something. From the back of the curved mount to the front of the tether mount, and that's basically 5 centimeters or 2 inches. All right, so we'll leave it there for today. I hope those tips and tricks helped you out. If you have any comments, throw them down below, or maybe you've got some suggestions of your own related to these or other things to do with GoPros. Go ahead and toss those below as well so we can all learn from it. Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you on the river.